This happened 8 months ago. My friend, Kylan, and I work in a woodworking company. It's a pretty great job for me, as I love hands-on activities and creating things. Kylan, however, has more of a difficult time with it all. Which is completely fine as I help him with it. His mom and my mom aren't necessarily close, but both support me and him in our work. We're pretty young, so it helps with reassurance. But a few days before this incident, I started to realize that Kylan's mom never really acknowledged my work. Now that's not really a big deal to me as I don't require praise, but I do find it a bit weird as Kentucky's mom has apparently had a few racial incidents at her own work, and I'm African. I was just assuming it's because she's afraid I'm a pretty built guy and 6'6". Fast forward to Tuesday, and I'm working on a wooden chair that has taken me a few more attempts than wanted. The table saw I had been using to make clean cuts was pretty rusty from Kentucky using it constantly. I headed out to the department to get a replacement and was a bit annoyed with Kentucky not doing it himself. I came back and said, "Hey man, don't be afraid to change your equipment." And he rolled his eyes and just replied with a K. Which just annoyed me even more. I just pushed past it and continued. But minutes later, I heard Kentucky laughing, and I looked up to find him laughing at my cutting. This made me extremely upset as I've been working almost day and night, while he only works 7-9 hours. This along with his mom recently coming into the shop and laughing along with him. This got to me and I walked over to Kentucky and told him a few words that I shouldn't have. He immediately got defensive and pushed me back, and I was about to strike back when his mom instantly joined in with him and intentionally pushed me to the left, where the saw was. Stupidly, I left it on. As soon as I was pushed back, the back of my hand was shoved right into the saw, causing a drizzle of blood to just gush everywhere and for my palm to be basically split in half, with a huge gap between my pinky and ring finger. The shock kicked in, and I instantly grabbed my hand and shouted for my mom who was on the other side of the shop. She immediately got an ambulance and I was sent to the closest hospital. Kentucky has been texting me almost every day apologizing for his mother. The only text from her was her saying that this was my fault and to not hurt her son. Update. I think I need to clear some things up. I am 17 years old. I'm allowed to work here because my brother-in-law, 29, owns it along with his father. I'm trusted. How did I manage to keep the saw on? Again, I'm not sure myself. Extremely critical mess up on my part. Your hand would have been split in half. Yes. It is basically split in half. It stopped at a gap in between and thankfully by a miracle wasn't completely cut in half, but was itching off the edge from a clean cut down the middle. I got in contact with EM's husband and told him about the full situation and that she was intentionally trying to harm me. Apparently, EM had been telling her husband a completely different story. He seemed pissed and said he'd talk to EM. This was about 3 hours ago. Go to the police, bro, this is not okay. She assaulted a minor. Press charges. Call the cops and press charges. Either way, it happened, that was assault, maybe even more. She needs to be held accountable for her actions both in justice and money-wise. File the report and save all communication from them both. Did she mean it was your fault or her fault? Also, everyone was somewhat at fault. You don't mess around when there are blades or power tools in the area. I hope you recover fully and quickly. Update. So since my first post, thank you all for the kind words and advice, a lot has gone down. First, Kylan and I have made up. It wasn't his fault for what his mom did and I get that. Secondly, after telling EM's husband about what actually has been going on and him getting pissed at EM, he's taken me into the station to get things sorted out and ask how I want to move forward. I haven't really decided what I'd like to do at the moment, but I'm leaning towards just money for compensation or something. EM 2 days ago also showed up at my house demanding for me, but I wasn't there at the time. But when I did get back home, I saw EM standing there waiting for me. My mom said she stayed there the whole time waiting for me, and I went up to ask her what was going on and why she was there. And in response, I got a huge glob spat in my face and a whole bunch of yelling. Honestly, it took me a lot of restraint to not yell at her back, but I just calmly told her to get away from my mom and my house. Eventually, she did. Spitting at you is also assault. It's time to call the police again to add this incident to your report. Please reconsider and file charges. This woman is escalating. You need to let the police do their job. Letting her think she can intimidate you is dangerous. File charges. She's assaulted you twice now, clearly, she's not willing to back off. Keep track of when she shows up and how long she stays and any other incidents with her, so you can file for a restraining order. Update, Minnie, finally, after tons of comments, I'm going to take this to court. EM's husband has given me a good injury attorney that I can talk to, and my mom needs to help me fill the documents out once I get there. I don't know when the court date is though. Third update on table saw incident. Hi everyone. As for updates? Well, there are a few. The first update was me talking to the police about her harassing me. I'm pretty sure something happened because ever since then she's been quiet about the situation, whereas before she used to call me and berate me for everything. The second update is my Bill is trying to go through the process of a restraining order and wants to help me during the court hearing. He also did install a saw stop. The reason we didn't have one before is really unknown. The third update is I actually injured my hand even more. Last weekend I sprained my wrist. So that's why my friend Harley is doing it. The fourth update is that Kylan's mom kicked him out. Apparently, he's been in contact with the police as well because of how she's been treating him recently. I guess she's been hit pretty hard by this because she's been drinking heavily and being mean to Kentucky. She found out about it and kicked Kentucky out to the curb. I've tried contacting him, but I've gotten no answer since. Thank you all for your patience and prayers. I do appreciate it, and soon I will be getting the justice I deserve. Update, again, the time has come to update you all on what will probably be the last of this situation. EM was supposed to be scheduled for court, but it never came. Apparently, some people have figured out who she was in real life from the word being spread, and she's lost a lot of friends from it. This is what her husband has disclosed at least. Not sure what led up to it, but she was drinking and drove onto one of the highways and got into a massive crash. Everyone else involved got away with a few injuries, but she was basically dead at the scene. So yeah, I guess that's really how it ends. Not the ending everyone was hoping for lol. Sometimes karma works in the worst ways possible. Thank you to everyone who really supported me through everything. I appreciate you all. Oh my god, that's crazy. I hope you're doing okay or at least better now. You should sue her estate for any medical and rehabilitation services. They can cost a pretty penny. Oh, yeah. Karma slapped that idiot hard and fast, and rightfully so. I hope she burns in hell. My husband and I live in a region with a lot of tourism, and we own a rare motorcycle. It's a very valuable oldtimer my husband spent a fortune to restore. We're living in the countryside, but when we're going on day trips, it happens that we park our bikes in more busy places when taking a break for lunch or coffee. I understand the motorbike draws attention and that some people snap pics of it, but we increasingly have to deal with parents who randomly put their kids on it to do so. Last weekend we stopped a couple who was just about to do it and they gave us the usual excuse. We would have asked, but nobody was around. Just like not being around makes our bike public property. Minutes later, after just ordering food, we caught another couple swinging their kid's bum on the seat of our bike. This time it wasn't just a toddler, but at least a 6-year-old boy. We received a lot of feedback, also from not entitled parents, to call the police or make a big scene, but frankly, it has become so frequent, we just decided to avoid such places. Cause we grew tired of seeing toddlers kicking the tank or mothers pulling the zippers of their handbags along it by hauling their offspring up and down. 10 years ago this rarely ever happened, we can tell the entitlement intensifies. I'd buy a tarp-like cover and cover the bike when parked in a busy place. It can be something made of some thin material so it doesn't take much space when not in use. People won't bother to remove it just to look at the bike under it. My dad put me on someone's motorcycle when I was a kid. I was 5 or so, and the owners were rightfully pissed. I still remember those people screaming at me. My dad goes through the same thing here and there. One time, it was a very hot day, and as expected the black leather seat was hot. As my dad's coming out of the shop all he hears is screaming because the kid was wearing shorts and got burned. He starts giving them hell, and the parents start giving it right back. Like what the hell? So many people, particularly parents, have no regard for other people's property.